Story 1. The Knock at the Door. The Christmas Murder. I was just 10 years old when I moved in with my dad. I didn't know anyone in the neighborhood except for one family my dad was close with. A single mom lived there with her 3 kids. One of them, a girl just a little older than me, she was 12 when we met, became sort of a friend. We weren't extremely close, but over the next couple years, we ended up in the same circle of friends. One December night, just a week before Christmas, that girl's life ended in the most horrifying way possible. My buddy Rob was hanging out with her and her younger brother at their house. Their mom was at work that evening. Nothing unusual about that. She worked long hours and trusted her kids. Earlier that year, the girl's mom had been helping a woman through her job, and she got to know this woman's family. What she didn't know was that the woman's sister had just been released from a mental institution. That night, there was a knock on the door. My friend thought it was just their mom, because she had a very specific way of knocking. Without thinking, he opened it. But it wasn't her mom. It was the sister, the unstable woman who had learned their family's schedule through her sibling. The moment Rob realized it wasn't safe, he panicked. Since he wasn't even supposed to be there, he bolted out the window and sprinted home. He had no idea what was about to happen inside that house. The little brother managed to escape too. He ran to the neighbors and called the police, but by the time they got there, it was already too late. The intruder brutally murdered my 12-year-old friend. She decapitated her, left her body in the bathtub, and hid her head somewhere in the house. The cops eventually found it, wrapped like some twisted Christmas present. I wasn't even allowed to go to her funeral. To this day, whenever I think about Christmas lights and carols, I think about her, and about how the wrong knock on a door can change everything. Story 2. The Woman Who Walked Home. My wife's grandmother. This one happened about 15 years ago. My wife's grandmother was a widow by then. Her husband had passed away about a year earlier. To keep herself busy and stay social, she volunteered at the local library in South Texas. It was wintertime, and the library closed around 5 p.m. But she often stayed a little later to help with closing duties. One night, a fellow volunteer offered her a ride home. She declined, saying she needed the exercise. Her house was only a mile away, through a lightly wooded area. It was getting dark as she walked. About halfway, she noticed a man behind her. At first, she thought nothing of it. She was elderly and moved slowly, so naturally someone might catch up. But the way he moved was unsettling. He didn't just pass her. He stayed behind her, step for step. By the time she was near her driveway, she could feel his breath on her neck. Then she felt a hand clamp down on her shoulder. "Don't turn around," he growled. "Hand me your purse or I'll cut you." Most people would have frozen. Most people would have screamed. Not her. She calmly stepped forward, turned, and pulled out the .38 she kept in her purse. She shot the man straight in the neck. He didn't die right away. He spent years in a prison hospital before finally succumbing to complications. My wife's grandmother passed away last year, but even near the end, she told us she regretted one thing. She said she wished she had waited just 1 second longer, that maybe he would have revealed what else he planned to do. But in my book, she was a hero. She walked home safe. Story 3. The White SUV. When I was a kid, around 9 years old, my older sister, she was 16, used to babysit me. She was a heavy smoker, and since our parents didn't allow smoking inside, she'd go out to the driveway at night. That's when we started noticing the SUV. It was a white SUV with dark tinted windows and a bike rack on top. The windows were so black, you couldn't see inside at all. Every time my sister went out for a smoke, the SUV would park at the end of our driveway. If she went inside, it would slowly roll away and park down at the church parking lot. When she came back out, it would return. At first, she brushed it off, but it kept happening. Finally, she told my dad, who was a sheriff's deputy. He made a report. But by the time cops checked, the SUV was always gone. Months passed. Then one night, when our car was in the shop, my parents were home and the SUV returned. My dad grabbed his gun and walked straight down the driveway toward the vehicle. He didn't aim, but he wanted them to know he wasn't messing around. The SUV floored it, peeling out onto the nearby highway. My dad managed to note the model and year. But the scariest part, the license plate was covered in duct tape. We never saw it again. To this day, we don't know what the driver wanted. My sister always says that halfway down the driveway one night, she felt absolute terror. Like if she had gone closer, she wouldn't be alive today. Story 4. The Cat and the Man in the Hallway. When I was 5 years old, my parents had just separated. My mom got us a small 2-bedroom apartment. My room was across the hall from hers. I preferred to sleep in her bed most nights. One summer night, the window above the headboard was open, letting in the warm air. Around midnight, I woke up and noticed our cat. He was sitting in the doorway, staring into my room. That was odd, because he always slept in bed with us. Then he walked into my room and meowed. I turned to wake my mom. In those 3 seconds, everything changed. When we both looked back at the doorway, there was a man. A man was standing inside our apartment right by my bedroom door, slowly walking out. Without hesitation, my mom grabbed me, threw me out the open window, and jumped after me. We screamed until neighbors called 911. The police found no forced entry. The front door was unlocked, but my mom swore she had locked it. A week later, while cleaning, she opened a closet near the water heater. Inside was a notebook full of names, strange drawings, gloves, and gum wrappers. The cops said someone had been living in our apartment, hiding, waiting. Story 5. The Amboy Setup. Years ago, I was driving alone from 29 Palms, California, to Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's a long, desolate drive through the desert. As I climbed through a canyon, I noticed something in the middle of the road. A red Pontiac Fiero was parked sideways across both lanes. Clothes and a suitcase were scattered, and two bodies, a man and a woman, lay face down on the asphalt. Every hair on my neck stood up. It looked too staged, too perfect, like bait. I was a Marine. I reached under my seat, grabbed my pistol, and chambered around. I planned my route. Drive left of the man, swing around the woman, and miss the car. Then floor it. I did exactly that. When I looked in the rearview mirror, I saw the bodies move. They got up, and at least 20 people emerged from the tall grass on both sides of the road. They had been waiting. I didn't stop until I hit the interstate. I'll never know what they planned to do, but I'm sure if I had stopped, I wouldn't be alive to tell this story. Story 6. The Screams by the River. A group of friends and I were fishing on the James River one night. We had a fire going, beers in hand, just enjoying ourselves. Then, out of nowhere, silence. Everyone froze. It felt like we were being watched. And then we heard it. A scream. High-pitched, blood-curdling. It sounded like someone being gutted alive. Before we could react, another scream. Louder this time. We ran to our trucks, grabbed guns, and came back to the fire, waiting. Then a third scream, this time on our side of the river, just yards away in the bushes. We left everything behind and sped away. We never learned what made that sound, but none of us ever fished there again. Story 7. The Missing Phone. One Friday night, my friend picked me up for a hockey game. We were laughing, messing around in the car, when I realized I didn't have my phone. At the arena, I borrowed his phone and called mine. After 3 rings, someone picked up, but they didn't speak. I thought it was my younger brother messing with me, so I hung up. Hours later, I got home. My parents weren't there. They were out with my brother. That's when it hit me. If they weren't home, who answered my phone? As I was thinking that, I heard the back door open. I bolted outside and ran to the neighbors. The cops came. Nothing was stolen. But the thought still haunts me. Someone was inside my house, holding my phone while I was miles away. Story 8. The Boy Next Door. Years ago, a new family moved in next door. Their son was strange. He was 19, obsessed with slasher movies, and liked torturing stray animals. He also had a disturbing interest in my 7-year-old daughter. He'd talk to her when she came home from school, call our house asking for her. I confronted him, told him to stay away. That's when things got worse. My daughter started saying there was something in her closet. At night, but never in the day. We dismissed it as imagination. One night, while my wife and daughter were gone, the neighbors called me. They said their son was missing, and they claimed they saw me walking around upstairs with the light on. But I hadn't been upstairs. I had been asleep on the couch. I ran outside, grabbed my shotgun, and saw the sheriff pulling up. I told him someone was in my house. From the yard, I could see a light on in my daughter's room. A shadow pacing back and forth. When the deputies went in, they found him, the neighbor's son. He had set up a little space in my daughter's closet. He admitted he liked to watch her sleep. Hope you have enjoyed the reading. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.